Welcome to Empathy Stories, where we share tales that inspire and remind us of the power of courage and connection. Today, we bring you the gripping story of Ryan Carter, a mechanic who saved Charlotte Hayes, a CEO, from a dangerous ambush, sparking a journey of trust, resilience, and redemption. Stay tuned. The crisp autumn night hung heavy with silence, broken only by the faint rustle of leaves in the breeze. Ryan Carter, a hardworking mechanic, crouched by the side of a desolate road, the dim beam of his flashlight illuminating the stubborn bolt on his car's engine. His day had already been long, and this breakdown was the last thing he needed. Despite the chill in the air and the frustration of a stalled engine, Ryan worked methodically, the faint hum of crickets in the distance his only company. Just as he tightened the last bolt, the stillness of the night shattered. Tires screeched in the distance, the sound growing louder and more erratic with each passing second. Ryan stood, his heart pounding as headlights came into view, swerving violently down the road. Behind them, the unmistakable roar of another car in pursuit. The lead car, a sleek, black sedan, veered dangerously close to the edge of the road, its tires skidding against the gravel. Ryan's instincts kicked in as he watched the car spin out, crashing into a shallow ditch with a deafening crunch of metal. He didn't hesitate. Grabbing his flashlight, he ran toward the wreckage, the beam of light cutting through the smoky haze now enveloping the vehicle. Inside the sedan, Charlotte Hayes clutched the steering wheel, her knuckles white and her breaths coming in ragged gasps. The CEO of one of the nation's most prominent corporations, Charlotte was no stranger to high-pressure situations. But this was different. The fear was primal, raw. The men in the car chasing her had been relentless, their intentions clear as they tried to force her off the road. The passenger door creaked open, and a voice broke through her panicked haze. "Are you hurt?" Ryan asked, his tone urgent but steady. Charlotte turned, her wide, terrified eyes meeting his. I think I'm okay," she stammered, her voice shaking. "But they're still out there." Ryan glanced over his shoulder. The headlights of the other car loomed ominously in the distance, its engine revving as it crept closer. "We need to get out of here now," he said firmly. Charlotte hesitated for only a second before nodding. Ryan helped her out of the car, his grip strong and reassuring as he guided her toward his own vehicle, which he had managed to repair just moments earlier. They climbed inside, and Ryan turned the key. The engine roared to life, and without another word, he hit the gas. The pursuit wasn't over. The other car gave chase, its high beams casting long, menacing shadows on the road ahead. Ryan kept his focus on the twisting route, his hand steady on the wheel. The old sedan he drove wasn't built for speed, but Ryan's skill behind the wheel compensated for its limitations. Charlotte gripped the edge of her seat, her eyes darting between the side mirrors and the road ahead. "Why are they doing this?" she whispered, more to herself than to Ryan. "Do you know them?" Ryan asked, his voice calm despite the tension in the air. "No," Charlotte replied, shaking her head, "but I think it's connected to my work." Ryan didn't press her for details. His immediate priority was getting them to safety, spotting an unmarked dirt path branching off the main road. He made a split-second decision, yanking the wheel hard to the right. The sedan bumped and jostled over the uneven terrain, dust kicking up in their wake. Behind them, the pursuing car skidded, unable to follow the sharp turn as easily. Ryan drove deeper into the wooded area until the headlights of their pursuers were no longer visible. Finally, he brought the car to a stop in a small clearing, cutting the engine and plunging them into an uneasy silence. The only sound was their labored breathing and the distant chirp of crickets. "You okay?" Ryan asked, turning to Charlotte. The dim light from the dashboard illuminated her face, streaked with tears and smudged makeup. She nodded, though her expression betrayed the lingering fear she felt. "I think so," she said softly, her voice still trembling. "Thank you for saving me." Ryan shrugged, his tone humble. "You don't need to thank me. I just did what anyone would do." Charlotte shook her head. "No," she said firmly. "Not everyone would have done what you did." As the adrenaline began to fade, Charlotte's mind raced with questions. Who were those men? Why had they targeted her? And how had she ended up relying on a stranger to save her life? She glanced at Ryan, who sat quietly, his hands resting on the wheel. There was something steadying about him, his calm under pressure, his lack of pretense. It was a stark contrast to the cutthroat world she was used to. After a moment, she spoke again. I don't know who those men were, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. But I have a feeling this isn't over. Ryan nodded. Then we need a plan, he said simply. First, we'll get you home. You'll be safer there. After that, we figure out who's behind this. Charlotte studied him. Her gratitude mingled with curiosity. This man, this mechanic who had risked his life for hers, seemed so out of place in her world of polished boardrooms and billion-dollar deals. And yet, in this moment, she trusted him more than anyone else. Okay, she said finally, let's figure this out together. Ryan nodded, starting the car again and steering them back onto the road. The night still held its dangers. But for the first time, Charlotte felt a glimmer of hope. She didn't know where this journey would lead, but she was certain of one thing. She wasn't facing it alone. The story of Charlotte Hayes and Ryan Carter is a powerful narrative of courage, trust, and transformation. Each character's journey offers profound insights into integrity, resilience, and the importance of human connection. Here are the key lessons they leave us. The quiet of Charlotte Hayes' sprawling home felt at odds with the chaos they had just escaped. The heavy oak doors clicked shut behind them, and Ryan Carter took a moment to catch his breath, still shaken from the harrowing chase. He glanced at Charlotte, her hands trembling as she clutched the counter in her modern, expansive kitchen. The faint hum of the refrigerator and the soft ticking of the clock were the only sounds, a stark contrast to the screeching tires and shouted threats from earlier. Are you okay? Ryan asked, his voice low but steady. He was still processing the danger they had just narrowly escaped, but his concern for her outweighed his own fears. Charlotte nodded, her face pale but resolute. I'm fine, she said, though her voice carried a tremor. Thanks to you. She looked at him, her eyes filled with gratitude, but also a flicker of determination. I don't even know how to begin thanking you. Ryan waved off her gratitude with a small shake of his head. You don't have to. I just did what anyone would do. Charlotte managed a faint smile. Not everyone would have risked their life like that for a stranger. The weight of the situation settled between them as they sat down at the kitchen island, the event of the night replaying in their minds. Charlotte broke the silence first. I can't let this go, she said, her voice firm now. Those men weren't just random criminals. They wanted to hurt me for a reason. Ryan leaned forward, his arms resting on the counter. Do you have any idea who might have sent them? Someone you've crossed in business. Maybe. Charlotte hesitated, her eyes narrowing as she thought. It's possible. I've made plenty of enemies in my position. But this feels personal. Whoever it was didn't just want to scare me. They wanted to make sure I couldn't fight back. Ryan nodded, sensing the gravity of her words. Then we figure it out. Together. She looked at him, surprised. You do that? You've already done so much. I can't just walk away knowing someone's out there trying to hurt you. Ryan replied. Besides, I've got a knack for fixing things. And this feels like something worth fixing. Charlotte's lips curved into a faint smile. The first genuine one of the night. All right, she said. But if we're going to do this, we'll need a plan. The two of them spent the next several hours piecing together what little they knew. Charlotte shared details about her business dealings, focusing on the recent merger she had spearheaded, a move that had angered several competitors. Ryan listened intently, his blue-collar perspective offering insights that Charlotte hadn't considered. Who benefits most if you're out of the picture? Ryan asked, his tone thoughtful. Probably Ridgewell Industries, Charlotte said after a pause. They've been trying to edge me out of the market for years. This merger was the final nail in their coffin. Ryan nodded. Then maybe we start there. If they're behind this, they'll slip up somewhere. We just have to find the thread and pull. Charlotte's assistant, Olivia, arrived early the next morning after a brief phone call from her boss. Olivia was sharp and resourceful, her efficiency a stark contrast to the chaos of the night before. Ryan explained the situation, and Olivia immediately got to work, pulling up financial records and communication logs for Ridgewell Industries. Whoever planned this had resources, Olivia said, scrolling through documents on her tablet. And they were careful. We'll need more than speculation to tie them to the attack. That's where I come in, Ryan said, his voice steady. If they hired someone to do their dirty work, they might have left a trail, something the police wouldn't think to look for. Charlotte raised an eyebrow. You think you can find that? I can try, Ryan replied. I've spent enough time fixing things to know where people cut corners. The unlikely trio began their investigation in earnest. Ryan tracked down leads at local garages and scrapyards, places where the kind of men who attacked Charlotte might frequent. His down-to-earth demeanor and ability to blend in made him an invaluable asset, gaining information that would have been impossible for Charlotte or Olivia to uncover. Meanwhile, Charlotte and Olivia worked on the corporate side, digging into Ridgewell's recent activities and looking for anything suspicious. As the days passed, Ryan and Charlotte found themselves growing closer. They were from different worlds, his defined by grit and grease, hers by boardrooms and billion-dollar deals. But their shared determination created a bond neither of them had anticipated. Late nights turned into quiet conversations over coffee, their defenses slowly lowering as they learned more about each other. You're not what I expected, Charlotte admitted one evening as they pored over notes in her home office. Ryan chuckled, leaning back in his chair. Let me guess. You thought I was just some guy who fixes cars and watches football on Sundays. Something like that, she said, her smile softening. But you've got this way of seeing things, cutting through the noise. It's refreshing. Ryan shrugged. Sometimes it helps to keep things simple. People complicate things when they don't need to. Charlotte nodded, her admiration for him growing with every passing day. She saw in Ryan a kind of integrity and strength that was rare in her world. A man who didn't just talk about doing the right thing but lived it. Their investigation finally bore fruit when Ryan uncovered a critical lead. A mechanic who had been paid in cash to repair a fleet of black SUVs, matching the description of the attacker's vehicle. Armed with this information, they began to piece together the puzzle, inching closer to the truth. For Charlotte, the experience was more than just a quest for justice. It was a reminder of what truly mattered. She had spent so much of her life building walls, protecting herself from the cutthroat world she inhabited. But Ryan's presence had chipped away at those walls, revealing a side of her she had almost forgotten. And for Ryan, the journey was a chance to prove that he was more than just a mechanic. It was a chance to show that courage, resourcefulness, and heart could bridge even the widest divides. Together, they were stronger than either had been alone, and as they prepared to confront the threat that loomed over Charlotte, both knew that their partnership was just beginning. The evidence they had gathered pointed to Ridgewell Industries and its CEO, Malcolm Ridgewell, a man known for his ruthless tactics. Ridgewell had the motive, the resources, and, as Ryan uncovered, a history of intimidating competitors to secure his position in the market. With each piece of the puzzle falling into place, Charlotte Hayes and Ryan Carter prepared to confront the man who had orchestrated the attack. Charlotte arranged a meeting with Ridgewell under the guise of discussing a potential truce. It was a calculated move, one that required precision and courage. Ryan, initially reluctant to attend, agreed when Charlotte insisted she needed his steady presence. You've come this far, she said. I trust you more than anyone else. The meeting was set in a high-end private lounge, neutral ground where Ridgewell would feel confident but not entirely in control. Charlotte arrived first, her commanding presence and calm demeanor masking the turmoil beneath the surface. Ryan followed shortly after, blending in with the staff to remain unnoticed until the right moment. Ridgewell entered, his smug smile barely concealing the venom that lay beneath. He greeted Charlotte with feigned politeness, his words laced with condescension. Charlotte, he said smoothly, I wasn't expecting this. What can I do for you? Charlotte met his gaze without flinching. You can explain why men working for you tried to kill me. Ridgewell's smile faltered, his eyes narrowing. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't play games. Charlotte said, her voice cold and unwavering. She slid a folder across the table, filled with documents, photos, and statements linking Ridgewell to the attack. This is enough to ruin you, Malcolm, and it's just the beginning. Ridgewell's jaw tightened as he flipped through the folder. His confidence wavered, but he quickly masked it with a dismissive laugh. This is circumstantial at best, he said. You think this will hold up in court? It doesn't have to, Ryan said, stepping out of the shadows. Ridgewell's head snapped toward him, his eyes widening in surprise. It just has to hold up in the court of public opinion. Ryan's calm, grounded demeanor threw Ridgewell off balance. He had expected to intimidate Charlotte, to use his power to silence her. But he hadn't accounted for the mechanic-turned-ally who stood unwavering by her side. You've underestimated her, Ryan continued, and now you've got both of us to deal with. The confrontation escalated as Ridgewell tried to bluff his way out. But Charlotte and Ryan remained resolute. Their teamwork was seamless. Charlotte's strategic mind complementing Ryan's ability to cut through Ridgewell's posturing. For every excuse Ridgewell offered, they had a counter, each response chipping away at his facade. Finally, Ridgewell's bravado cracked. He leaned back in his chair, his face pale with anger and frustration. What do you want? He growled. I want you to pull back from the merger, Charlotte said firmly. And I want a public statement admitting your involvement in the attack. No spin, no lies. And if I don't, Ridgewell sneered, then you'll lose everything. Charlotte replied, your reputation, your company, your freedom. We have enough to bury you. Malcolm, don't make us use it. Ridgewell's shoulders slumped as the weight of his situation sank in. After a tense pause, he nodded. Fine, he muttered. You'll get what you want. With the confrontation resolved, Charlotte and Ryan left the lounge. The tension between them replaced by a sense of victory. For Charlotte, the experience was a testament to her resilience and her ability to fight for what was right. For Ryan, it was proof that courage and integrity could thrive even in a world dominated by wealth and power. In the weeks that followed, Charlotte fulfilled her promise to support Ryan in achieving his dreams. She offered him a position at her company, not as a gesture of charity, but as an acknowledgement of his unwavering determination and unique perspective. You've earned this, she said, and I believe in you. Ryan accepted the opportunity, using it to save money and eventually open the garage he had always dreamed of. But he didn't forget the lessons he had learned along the way. He dedicated part of his business to helping underprivileged youth learn mechanical skills, paying forward the kindness and belief Charlotte had shown him. Their partnership, forged in a moment of crisis, became something deeper, a bond built on trust, respect, and shared values. Charlotte found in Ryan a grounding force, someone who reminded her of the importance of integrity in a world that often lacked it. And Ryan, in turn, found a mentor and a friend who showed him that courage and hard work could open doors he never imagined. As they stood together at the grand opening of Ryan's garage, surrounded by friends, employees, and members of the community, they exchanged a glance filled with gratitude and pride. The road they had traveled was far from easy, but it had led them to a place of fulfillment and purpose. And in that moment, they both knew that the best journeys are those taken together. Ryan's journey is a testament to bravery and determination. A mechanic with humble beginnings, he risked his life to save someone in need and found himself thrust into a world far beyond his comfort zone. Through courage and resourcefulness, he proved that true strength lies not in status but in character. Ryan reminds us that with integrity, perseverance, and a willingness to embrace opportunity, we can rise beyond our circumstances and achieve our dreams. Charlotte, a powerful CEO accustomed to control, learned the value of vulnerability and trust through her partnership with Ryan. Her experience showed her that true leadership is not about dominance, but about collaboration and understanding. By allowing herself to trust someone from a different world, she discovered the strength in unity and the importance of fostering meaningful connections. Charlotte's lesson is that success is measured not just by achievements, but by the people who stand by you along the way. Together, Charlotte and Ryan demonstrated the transformative power of partnership. Their bond, forged through adversity, highlighted the importance of mutual respect and shared purpose. They showed that when people from different worlds come together with open minds and hearts, they can overcome even the most formidable challenges. Their story teaches us that integrity and trust are the foundation for true success, and that by lifting each other up, we create a better future for everyone. This story reminds us that courage, trust, and integrity are timeless values that transcend social and economic divides. Ryan and Charlotte's journey proves that by believing in ourselves and others, embracing opportunities, and staying true to our principles, we can face any threat, find redemption, and build a meaningful life rooted in purpose and connection. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey of bravery and transformation. Ryan and Charlotte's story reminds us that courage, trust, and integrity can bridge any divide and lead to meaningful change. If this story inspired you, please like, comment, and share it with others. Don't forget to subscribe to Empathy Stories for more tales of hope and humanity. Until next time, let's continue to seek the good in ourselves and others.